Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. We have our council meeting. Before we start, I'll just go through a few housekeeping issues, if I may. Welcome all. There are no planned fire alarms. If the alarm should sound, please exit the building using the nearest available fire exit. And once leaving the building, please make your way to the muster point, which is located by the staff car park that away, and is identified by a green sign positioned in the shrub bed. Please make yourself known to a member of the staff if on duty. This meeting is recorded, and at that point, can I just ask, should anyone want to get up and move around? There is a camera over there to do the recording there, so if you could avoid moving in front of it while the meeting's in process, that would be fantastic. The meeting may also be recorded and broadcast by the press and members of the public. Please see Section 8 of the guidance for public participation, including recording and use of social media at meetings. May I also take this opportunity to thank everyone present for wearing their masks as a courtesy for all the people in the room. And can I also remind you that if you wish to congregate and chat, can you make sure you do that outside and not in the chamber, so that we can keep everyone as safe as possible. Thank you very much. We'll now have 1 minute just to gather our thoughts. Okay, thank you very much. We have apologies for absence to start with. I have two apologies this evening. One is Rebecca Clark, Councillor Clark, and Councillor Melody Roberts. Do we have any other apologies? Chairman. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, we now move to item 2, which is declarations of interest and dispensations. Have we had any written declarations? Thank you, Councillor Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll probably need to declare an interest into the Hampshire County Council Waterside Strategy consultation by the fact that I sit on Hampshire County Council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wade. Thank you, Councillor Wade.
Yes, in fact, this one is on behalf of all the council. In the planning minutes, application 21-10734 was not commented on because the person who applied was known to all councillors. So that's an interest for all councillors.
Thank you very much. Now, I believe item 3, community safety update, councillors have received reports from our ACSO, Michael, and also from the local police. So this is just for noting. Can I have that as noted? Everyone happy with that? Thank you. Some general agreement there. We're moving on to item 4, which are the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 23rd of June, 2021. Okay, I'll go through page by page. If a councillor would raise their hand if they have a comment to make. So page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. Can I have a proposer for the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Fairhead. And the seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Wade. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5, which is Chairman's announcements. I'd like to promote the Hythe Activity Day on the 7th of August, and that includes our community awards, which I believe is happening at 2 p.m. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman.
So that is starting at 10 o'clock and finishing at 3. And I'd like to record my thanks to Councillor Alex Wade, councillors and officers for their work behind the scenes on this. I also would like to record the thanks of Dr. Gibson, who's asked if he can pass on his thanks of the Executive Committee of the Waterside Heritage to myself and members of the Parish Council for their continued support of Waterside Heritage. And he says that the grants that we gave them will go a long way towards meeting our broadband costs, which allows them to continue researching and collating history. So that's very well received. And thank you for Dr. Gibson for his kind words there. I'd also like to say that I had a meeting with the clerk and officers of the Environment Agency and the District Council officers to move forward with our flood defence. That was a really useful meeting, and it's the start of quite a lengthy but a very necessary process. That's the end of my announcements there. We now come to reports by county and district members. Do we have a report from Councillor McAvoy? Okay, thank you. Over to you, Councillor Wade.
My report is very short. It's been a very busy month on this front with the County Council. We've had quite a few virtual meetings. The County Council decided to cancel its July meeting due to the then large numbers of people crammed into the historical old council chamber, which makes this place look like a car park. It really does. Right, in regards to the current infection numbers and the fact there were no critical decisions to be made. It was with the first meeting of the new Chief Exec, Carolyn Williamson, the ex-financial officer, a good internal appointment. We'll have to wait until September to do that. The works on the A326 are moving apace, and I have advised the council of the no right turn option at Dibden Parish Road, and any comments sent to me were passed on to the Road Safety Department. I attended the Hythe Quarry liaison meeting, and appears to have been a few complaints since the last meeting, save the cleaning of Frawley Road from the dirt mud dropping off the tipper lorries entering and leaving the site. T&J Transport, the operator, promised to ensure this problem is dealt with. I challenged them on the noise levels from the site and the expert they bring along to advise them on their mitigation plan. They ensured the panel is within the allowed limits, but I and other local members will be monitoring that to ensure that we will get onto it if local residents are disturbed by the excessive sound from the site. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move to the district councillors, and I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order this time because I normally go from the beginning. So can we start back with you, Councillor Wade?
Again.
Yes, please.
Equally quite brief. This month I've been to the planning meeting and no local planning applications and a planning training day looking at large housing developments. I attended the Greener Housing Committee with some good action to the area, the suitable stable waste and transport finish group, which you attended, Chairman, which is moving onwards, but awaiting further government guidance, and the full council meeting last week. The Chief Exec, Bob Jackson, was retiring. It was his last council meeting. I, as leader of the opposition, will be part of the board seeking a new chief executive. Also, we have not had any questions for some time in a council meeting. We had a number of important issues to challenge the council on. The two questions I posed were the ones on the stopping of the prepaid green waste collections and the council having no monitor of the situation to allow mitigation action to take place to avoid this outcome. It did not happen overnight. Amongst a range of excuses was a lack of HGV drivers due to Brexit. Well, there you go with that one. I will keep on to NFTCC to ensure the service is returned as soon as possible and existing residents do not lose out on their prepaid scheme. The second question was on fly tipping, and during the 2021 year, the authority issued 17 penalty notices. And what was the percentage of fly tipping incidents this represented? The answer was 17 out of 976 incidents, a pathetic 1.7%. I told the portfolio holder this was unacceptable in an environmentally sensitive area such as the New Forest, and what are they going to do about it to try and improve this and reduce fly tipping? The answer was, yes, it's bad, but they don't know what they're going to do. But they're going to do something, they're going to think of something. That is exactly what they said. Clearly, this is not being taken seriously. Protecting our environment is critical duty of the council, and this administration is not doing enough in this area. It's just another area, one of many, we'll hold them to account for. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Alex Wade.
Can you hear me at the back? Okay, thank you. I was going to mention the green waste, but Councillor Malcolm Wade has already adhered to that. I would note that the council have actually put nearly 100k into countering the lack of HGV drivers, looking at an improved pay offer to encourage more HGV drivers to counter this issue. But I echo Councillor Malcolm Wade's sentiments on it. Speeding issues. I'll be asking for a further SID in the next budgetary year for speed monitoring at Shaw Road towards the village centre, following previous evidence of above acceptable speeds and communication with local residents. The local safer neighbourhood teams have been promoting the use of the community speed watch, which I am interested in hearing the views of local residents on, as previously this council had been quite cautious over the approach. There have been further issues over flooding that I've been trying to work with the county council on and support residents through casework. It's been due to the weather, obviously, that we've seen in the last few months. And at Ferry Road, again, due to further rainfall, there have been incidents of bad flooding at the Ferry Road shops and flats, seriously impacting the shop owners and local residents. Although I've been in touch with the tenancy management company, they've brought in the Environment Agency, who I understand will be undertaking work shortly to deal with the drainage issues there. I have been in touch with residents, and as it's private land, although it's a challenge to the councillor, I have requested NFDC to write to the landowner to remind them of their responsibilities. I hope this can be resolved in the near future. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Alex Wade. Councillor Steph Osborne.
I submitted a question because of all the cases I've dealt with, asking about customer satisfaction, and it was met with some enthusiasm from the Housing Cabinet member, and we're hoping that soon we'll be able to have not a complaints procedure but more of a customer satisfaction end of cases coming up. So that's my most exciting thing.
Thank you very much, Councillor Osborne. I'll go next. On the 16th, I was at the Sustainable Waste Management Task and Finish Group. I won't echo what Councillor Wade has already said. I'll just simply say that it was just outlining the changes afoot with what they call Project Integra, which is the joint district councils. There are 11 councils that make up the Hampshire County Council region. And with the government changes and so on and so forth, there are going to be changes to that. On the 20th, I was a part of the Council Tax Reduction Task and Finish Group, and councillors were asked to consider non-dependent deductions and other issues where balancing the needs of residents and making the process overcomplicated is an issue. Thank you. Moving on now to Councillor Sandra Delamere.
I've got nothing much to report, Chairman, other than I also attended the full council meeting.
Thank you. And Councillor Mark Clark, please.
Just two issues, Mr. Chairman. One was the most favourite development, which is Forest Lodge Farm, the adjacent to it. The NFDC has rather surprisingly agreed now that the toboggan run from the top of where the development is down to the farm next door is unacceptable, cannot therefore be used unless there's major engineering work as a public open space, because it doesn't allow disability access into that area. So it's something that we're going to have to talk about and look at. Sean, I'm sure you'd be interested in that. The district council has perhaps changed its view on that now, and that, you know, if any play area needs to be installed, where it's going to be installed, which will require another planning application, possibly on the area which burnt down. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
There's that. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I just discovered that earlier that Fawley have a speed watch device, which they have lent out to other councils, notably Marchwood has it currently. It's coming back for an area which is within my district patch, but obviously we have issues within Hythe. I'm sure Fawley would be delighted to lend that particular device to us. It requires actually interesting filling out of a form at least 6 householders in that particular area that can man the watch device, and then they get training by the police, and then it's the hard data that the county council then needs if there's a speed area, but it's the data we can gather should there be a particular area. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any opportunities for councils to work together is to be applauded. Thank you. We're now moving on to reports from members serving on outside bodies. I think probably for this one, if councillors would like to put their hands up, and then I'll ask councillors to speak. Councillor Osborne.
Also a reply to Councillor Alex Wade's question last meeting. Had a very extensive meeting with the Hythe Hospital CCG, and a lady called Catherine Bowl has replied and said that we can confirm that the Sun Health NHS Foundation Trust will continue to provide adult mental health services from the new hospital. There will be a range of advice and assessment clinics delivered by the mental health practitioners. Local patients will also be able to access GP referral, the community health team. I put this actually to Claire so that we can all see the reply in length if you'd rather I don't read any more of it.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for your work there. Do we have any other? Thank you, Councillor Kitchen.
I won't say a lot, Chairman. I just wanted to say you should have all had a pretty good email from Sophia about an update on the Handy Trust. I won't say a lot apart from we are back in session in Marchwood and Hythe doing our youth club sessions, delivering free food to families and things. And we would like to open an invitation to councillors should they wish to attend a session to have a look and see what we do. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Kitcher. I will say that I have responded on behalf of the whole council and thanked them for their work and for the report. So thank you for that. Do we have any more outside body reports? Okay, we'll move on then, please. And we are now to item 8, which is questions from the members of the public. I have one written question, well, 2 written questions, I beg your pardon, so I'll come to those shortly. Yes, would you mind, thank you, you had your hand up first, would you mind stating your name and your
I would really like to see that now.
sorry, I'm not understanding the question. Could you ask your question, please?
Well, no, I came to say, I came to ask why the cutway between Park Close and South Street was so overgrown, right? And it's been overgrown for an awful long time. A lot of residents have been complaining about it, and I have complained about it time and time again. It has now been cut. So I would like to say thank you on behalf of council, whoever got it, and thank you to our maintenance and for all beautiful flats.
Thank you very much for that comment. I do know that over the last few weeks, maintenance of open areas has been a challenge with a lot of the wet weather. So I'm pleased that that's now been attended to.
Can I respond to that one, Chairman, quickly?
This is not for debate. This is just for questions. So thank you. It's not for debate. It's just for questions, Councillor. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Harrison, hi. I know the highway has done plenty of road lighting recently. And the road outside, they didn't use the middle, they have done the middle, but they used that 120 mile per hour sign inside Naples. Is there a reason for this? if I wasn't chasing off. It's an important one, because it's the first one that people meet when they collect the cell in their car. It's the first one.
Thank you for your question. If you would email that to Councillor Wade, who is our county councillor, then he can take that up with the county council. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir, let's try again.
Yeah, third time, maybe. Don't mind, I'll say it, so.
No, that's fine.
So you can hear me at the back there.
Loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
I think about what we're going to talk about.
Question, please.
Yeah, well, the question's coming. It's in connection with the letter we received about a month ago with an information note. That note was to state, their own contents. You've got set and look at the residents. They've been under a lot of stress over the last 5 years because of the non-action. And receiving that letter has made it 100 times worse. Now, in that information note, you mention about potential court visitation. So my question to you is, are you prepared to take 12 households in the parish to court? Now, in your answer, with respect, I don't want to hear you saying we don't want it to go that way, or we hope it doesn't go that way. I want a straightforward answer. Are you prepared, and the word is prepared, to take the residents to court?
Thank you for your question. I will certainly respond to that in that it is our intention, and always has been our intention, to reach an agreement. But I will certainly. The matter is complicated, as you know, and not straightforward. The issue of it being a stream or a pipe sewer or ditch needed to be clarified by a solicitor, and that the council acts properly and in accordance with the law. The council doesn't wish to spend any more. Oh, that's the wrong question, isn't it, really? Right, sorry. No, this isn't a debate. I'll answer the point. I am answering your question. No, it's.
Are you prepared to take the residents to court?
Right.
That's the question I'm asking. You either come back and say yes.
Well, my answer at the moment to you, a verbal answer, is that it is our intention to reach an agreement with residents. That is our intention and always has been. No, this isn't a debate. I'm answering a question. Point of order. Point of order. Point of order. This is not a debate. You've asked me a question. I have answered it, and I'll also say that I'll give you a more full answer in writing after this meeting.
Can I have it noted in minutes that you did not answer?
Okay, moving on. Next question. Yes, sir.
2 years ago, I stood up and asked concerning something that Mr. Hayes, the legal representative, also very yes, council if they were 1%. So,
Can I'm assuming this, you are a Valley resident and you're asking about the Valley meeting. I mean, you're well aware that we have called for a meeting with residents where these questions and further clarification can be gleaned from that meeting. I have a statement I will read now, but I will remind you that we have a public meeting with residents in due course next month, where we can go through this in much more detail. I understand. Well, I understood that was your question. If you have a further part of the question, I'll listen.
still has changed complex. Moved around.
Right. Sorry, I'm Councillor Wade. I think, well, as I say, we have a meeting coming up where detailed questions can be answered there. I understand that there are issues with different interpretations and so on and so forth. It's not really the time to go through those now. I will say that it is a complicated matter. It's not straightforward. The issue of it being a stream or pipe or sewer or ditch needed to be clarified by the solicitor in order that the council acts properly in accordance with the law. The council doesn't wish, obviously, to spend any more than is absolutely necessary on legal fees, but must exercise due diligence. And we have responded to legal advice there. So I would say that we have an opportunity to go through all of these issues in the August meeting, and I'm very much hoping that you will be at that meeting and asking those questions because they are legal. I'm not a legal expert, and I don't really think it's a good idea for me to try and answer a legal point when we have an expert who will be able to do that at that meeting.
And he will be there.
Well, I don't know whether that particular gentleman will be there, but there will be a legal representative there to.
If I ask the question again, if there isn't a legal expert, I'm still stuck.
Well, there will be a legal expert at the meeting, so I can say that. So that's really all I can say at this point in time because we have that meeting to go through that. So I hope that satisfies you in the meantime. If you wish to formulate that question and send it to us beforehand, then that can certainly help prepare the answer for you so it can be as full as it can be expected. Okay, yes, thank you. Yes, of course, of course. Okay. Well, what I will say is that I've actually been myself to the Heritage Centre at Lyndhurst, and I've seen the Ordnance Survey maps with the original watercourse there. Again, I think it's much better that that question is addressed to someone who is an expert in the law. Councillors, our role is basically to be a member of the public who listens to legal advice and information and then comes to a reasonable judgment. We're not expected to be experts, which is why in cases such as this, we have to ask people who are practiced in that part of law to get proper advice. Everyday stuff, we refer to the clerk for legal advice, because any decision we make as a council, we have to be sure is backed up by law and is legal. So in this case, we've had to go to a specialist, and that specialist will be at the public meeting that you are invited to attend. So that's really all I can say on that one now, because I don't think it's fair for me to put words in the legal expert's mouth there, because I think there's disagreement, but I don't think there is, well, it's a matter of law in the end. And you've asked a perfectly valid question, but I think the legal expert needs to answer that so that you have a proper legal answer to it. They are specialists in that, which is why I understand your frustration, but that is really the purpose. That is the purpose of that meeting in August. So that if you've got questions that you wish to put to the legal expert, then you've got that opportunity. There's more time to do that there than there is this evening. So I would encourage you to attend. Thank you. I think we've reached our time there, haven't we? Right, oh, I beg your pardon, I didn't want that to overrun then, I apologise for that. We've had a question from a resident about, again, it's about overgrown land, parish land, and there was a question about particularly the dock plant. And it says that last year, the parish council trimmed invasive weeds from the bank behind gardens in response to a request from residents. Unfortunately, the trimming, especially of horsetail and other seed-producing plants, only exacerbated the situation, and no trimming has been done since then, leaving weeds to flourish dramatically. It's now far worse than when it was trimmed last year. And there was a reference to the dock plant and the Weeds Act in 1959. We've got the dock plant is mentioned in the Act, but it's harmful weeds, also known as injurious weeds, are native to the UK and contribute to biodiversity. Curled dock, Rumex crispus, and broadleaf docks, Rumex obtusifolius, are covered by the Weeds Act 1959, which specifies 5 injurious weeds, including both curled dock and broadleaf dock. However, the council believes that this does not prevent us from having harmful weeds growing on our land, but is to stop weeds spreading on agricultural land that's used for grazing, for produce, forage, and silage and hay, and to grow crops. However, I can say that I've already been in contact with the maintenance team, and they are going to be trimming in due course. They'll be carrying out work on the land on the 9th of August, which will hopefully address the issues raised by residents regarding this section of land adjacent to properties. Letters will be delivered to residents containing more detail of the maintenance after the 4th of August. That was already in process, but I think it's important to highlight that. Well, I've also had a question, and this is the one, so you'll have to excuse me. I started answering earlier because I got the questions confused. This is by 2 residents. Why the council wasted taxpayers' money on legal advice that's based on the false assumption that the sewer is a natural stream. So again, the simple answer is that it is a complicated and not straightforward issue. The issue of it being a stream, pipe or sewer or ditch needed to be clarified by a solicitor in order that the council acts properly and in accordance with the law. The council doesn't wish to spend any more than it absolutely needs to on legal fees, but must exercise due diligence to act correctly and in the accordance with the law, and spend taxpayers' money wisely. The council wishes to avoid spending more taxpayers' money and has thus invited every Valley Dean resident to attend a meeting at the end of August, whereby a way forward can be discussed and a conclusion drawn without the need to spend any further money on legal fees. And indeed, the solicitor has actually advised this. However, as of yet, we've had no replies to the meeting invitations from residents. We very much hope that all residents will attend, and so we can all avoid any more time spent on this, and as a council we can avoid spending any more legal fees. So thank you for that. Moving on to item 10, this is the planning committee minutes. Over to you, Councillor Wade.
Skip number 9.
Number 9, I beg your pardon, I'm so sorry, councillors. Item 9, questions from councillors. Thank you, councillor Wade.
I do have two, is the chairman awares. One was in response to actually Mrs McLean, but it was just that following comments raised to me by residents on social media, I did actually contact the street scene manager, and they responded to me to confirm works were being undertaken in the park close to South Street footpath this week. I wasn't sure it was done, so that's very good news. But I know the street scene team from the New Forest District Council had been dealing with it this week. So that was just mainly to respond to Mrs McLean. And my second, is the chairman aware that I met with the head teacher of Nodewood School this week to discuss issues such as the proposed youth shelter and how we can work closer with Nodewood School and wider schools as a council.
Thank you very much, councillor Wade. Councillor Clark.
Two issues, Mr. Chairman, is the chairman aware, and I wonder whether we could draw attention to the fact of antisocial behaviour on Jones Lane Park. A resident has very vociferously complained about the sound of shop trolleys being thrown off swings at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I just wonder, I know obviously our ACSOs are on duty at that time. It's a shame the police weren't here to hear any answer of that, but I just wonder, was the chairman aware of any other complaints in that area? And secondly, so more positively, is the chairman aware of about Community First? An elderly resident in the patch I represent had difficulty at home, and we discovered, or managed to discover through the District Council, Community First, which is a joint initiative between Havant Borough Council and Hampshire County Council. I've got some information here. It's simply a small amount of help for elderly relatives to ensure they can stay in their own home and do the bigger tasks they can't. I've got some literature for other councillors should they wish to take it and have a read.
Thank you very much. In response to your comment about the antisocial behaviour, I would echo what has been asked by the PCSOs as well as our ACSO, that people do log these antisocial incidents, particularly online if they're able to do so, because every time it's logged, the importance of that gets bumped up their to-do list, if you like. So it is really important for residents to do that. They, by all means, contact our ACSO and discuss it with him, but it is really important that these matters are logged as well. And I know it's a bind, and I know people don't like doing it, but it is so important to do that, because then the police get a picture and they sort their priorities out from where the complaints are coming in. So I hope that's answered your point. I mean, by all means, also, contact the local police team in your capacity as councillor to follow that up. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Lovell.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is when I say something or when I don't, but that has just been made 10 times worse for those people not being able to answer any questions. And we are here for the public, so I'm here to stick up for them. Those questions you should know the answers to. We should all know the answers to. We should know if it's a drain, if it's a not. We should be able to say, yes, it is, and the evidence is there. We should be able to give them those answers now. It's been going on for 5 years. Those answers should be there, and they're not. And they're still not getting any answers, and it's 5 years down the line.
I understand your.
It's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for me sitting here. I haven't been here for 5 years.
I'm happy to answer your question, but I'm not going to answer it while I'm having other questions fired at me at the same time. So if I could just ask for your patience, please. I understand your point. We as a council have made the opportunity for a one-item meeting for the Valley Dean residents, for them to be able to answer with a legal expert present the points. Some of this is not about not understanding things. Some of this is about disagreeing with points of law. And it is important that we have a legal expert to be able to show what is law, what are matters of burden of proof or whatever you like, because not all of it is straightforward, as we've said all the way along. We can't enter into debate during public questions or indeed councillor questions. That's not the purpose of this meeting. It is to have a question and for an answer to be provided.
They haven't had any answers.
I understand your frustration there, but that is not the purpose of that section. I answered that. I mean, you may just disagree with my answer. You may dislike the way I answered it, and that's your prerogative. But that was what I could do within the confines of this meeting. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Kitcher.
I apologise, but I'd just like to ask the question of why, when I had been dealing with that issue, was I not allowed to answer the resident? Because just because you are the chairman does not mean you have the answer. I had been dealing with that issue because I had written to Sean Spencer. So I'd just like to answer, be answered why I couldn't speak to Mrs. McLean and answer her question. I think it's disgraceful.
Thank you for your opinion. I don't think that was a question, it was more of an opinion. Thank you, Councillor Wade.
I don't know what you think, Chairman, but I think that some of those issues mentioned by Councillor Lovell, possibly Councillor Kitcher, may be discussed in the I want to talk to you about. Are you aware, Chairman, before I came to this meeting, I took a lateral flow test and I was obviously negative, I wouldn't be here. Safety of members, officers and the public is paramount in these particular troubled times. Although we're coming out of the pandemic, there is conflicting data and we do all we can. This council is adopting a health and safety process that is commendably better than perhaps other councils are doing, who are not to do some of the things we're doing. But I think it's wrong to have the false safety view that wearing of masks is that safe. Masks are designed not to protect the wearer, but to protect others from the wearer. And I would suggest, Chairman, as a more concise and more confident way, is that we ask the clerk at no cost to the council to get a series of boxes of lateral flow tests, issue them to members and officers that attend the meeting. We can take one before we come, be tested negative and be confident we are not therefore a threat or danger to anyone else in this room, and not rely on something that is actually a bit of false security. And I think that is a much more sensible approach until we feel that the situation is such that we don't need to do that. That's the only question.
Is that a question?
It is.
Right, okay, I'll attempt to answer. I think at the moment, we are in a very challenging time where the government has left the choice to individuals to operate as they see fit. I think we have taken a sensible middle ground between not doing things as if nothing's the matter and going overboard. I am more than welcome to hear comments from councillors who feel uncomfortable that we are not doing enough, or indeed councillors who feel that we are being over strict with our guidance. And I'm sure we will have people with a variety of views between those 2 points. My view is the decision that I've made with the clerk this evening is the right kind of compromise for this particular venue. But I'm aware that not everyone will share that view. So I'm more than happy to hear comments from councillors, either through email or speaking to me. And then if we need to come back to that one, then we will do. Thank you. No, it's not debate, it's questions.
To respond to your point. My question was
A point of order, councillor. It's question and you've had your answer. Like it, you can come back to me. Question to section 10 planning committee.
I have a question to Councillor Mark Clark. With regards to the play area that you raised your question on to the Cabinet Member for Planning and Generation at the New Forest District Council meeting, have your discussions with NFDC implied that they want this play area to be parish managed or district managed? Bear in mind the serious concerns that we as a parish council have over this play area for lots of reasons.
We haven't got that far. I had a conversation with Diane Andrews, who I think there's probably the scales have fallen from her eyes about the depth of issue that there is. Now that the new soakaways are in place in the area, but that the developer in negotiation with New Forest District Council are now looking at how that whole area is engineered and managed so that the outflow of water doesn't come down and damage, as you know, the farm next door. The water, after the terrific downpours we have had just recently, the downpours and the water have arrived in various places within the farm in different places than it did before. So we now know, so we haven't really reached the point which you ask about, which is about management of the area, because frankly, we don't know what the area is going to look like at the end of it. And I think that the NFDC have finally tumbled to the fact that there is an issue within their planning department from the get-go. If this development was a car, it would be built on a Friday.
Thank you.
Right, sorry. Are we ready to move on? Have I missed anyone else? No. So we're on to item 10, which are the minutes of the planning committee, please.
Thank you very much. If we could move on, please, to page 13 to 16. This is the planning minutes for our Wednesday, the 14th of July meeting. It was our first one in person for, oh goodness me, about 15, 16 months. And we welcomed councillors Lovell and Kitcher to the planning committee, which is incredibly welcome to have some new blood on planning. Hopefully they'll share my enthusiasm for planning as we move forward. We'll just go through it page by page. The entire council did not comment on 21-10734 as the applicant was known to councillors. So let's go through it page by page, and any challenges, please raise your hand. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. And lastly, page 16. Do we all agree that's a true reflection of our July planning meeting?
Chairman.
Second. Thank you very much. And thank you again for the officers for your support. It was really nice to see you all in person.
Right, we're now moving on to item 11. I beg your pardon? Oh, I haven't got that on mine, sorry. Item 10B.
To note that 50 minutes will be approved by the member.
Yes, that's right. Excellent. So we will note that moving to the committee structure that the minutes will henceforth be approved by the planning committee and they don't need to come to full council for approval. And the same will be the case with all the other committees. So just to let everyone know. Thank you. I missed that. Okay, let's move on to number 11 then, please.
Interest, Chairman, just remind you, it's non-prejudicial.
Okay. Who's leading on this?
I can make a comment. There is this,
Thank you.
there is a waterside strategy consultation on HCC, which I suggest that everyone fills in. It's a really interesting consultation, so it's a very good one to get back. It's actually quite difficult to coordinate, and nigh on impossible actually, 13 different council reviews into a simple questionnaire format. So I suggest that everyone fills it in themselves and send it back, and then to have a corporate response, i.e. from the council. If you delegate that to the officer in conjunction with the chairman, and the chairman completes it on the council's behalf, is what I suggest, if you're in agreement with that, which is what we did for the last consultation.
Is everyone happy with that?
I didn't catch all that.
Right. Basically, what happened with the last consultation was that councillors submitted their individual responses, and some councillors then also copied their comments to the clerk to be contained within a corporate, a parish council response. There were certain elements of that that couldn't be done in that way, that just required tick boxes. And I sat down with the clerk and completed that part based on what we'd had and our judgment there. So if you're happy with that, then we're quite happy to follow the same format for this consultation, because the structure of it is virtually the same. It is well, it's up to you as councillors whether you wish to submit your individual response or not, but that's our recommendation. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any more points for clarification there? Everyone happy with that? Yes, Councillor Wade.
Just merely that if councillors can continue to push the community and residents to fill this in, because if they don't fill this in, then there's normally really poor turnout for these sorts of questionnaires, and then the county council can use that as arguably a justification of certain formats. The length of these consultations often puts a lot of people off, it's fair to say, but it's a really, really important one. So if we could all just encourage as many people as possible through whatever means we can for individuals to fill this in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on then. So this is item 12, and this is to receive an update on the financial effect of COVID-19 for the period 1st of June 2021 to the 30th of June 2021. And this is just for noting. So can I just check that councillors are happy to note that?
Yeah.
I'm not sensing a response from. Are we all happy to note this? This is 12A, just for noting. I'm hoping councillors have read it, done their homework. Yep, okay, thank you. 12B, to receive the bank reconciliation report for June 2021. Can I check councillors are happy to note that? Thank you. And to receive accounts for payment for June 2021. Are councillors happy to note that?
Noted, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Also quarterly budget.
Refer to mine. Just bear with. Right, we've got 12D, to approve the accounts for payment for June 2021. No, that's a bit I've done, isn't it? I beg your pardon. This is C, quarterly spend and budget report for the period 1st of April 2021 to the 30th of June 2021.
And I just say that this is very important that council notes this every quarter, because this was actually commented on by the internal auditor, and council needs to approve the spend versus budget every quarter.
So we'll vote on this one.
Yes.
Okay, so this is just to confirm, we're looking at 12C in the minutes, and I would like a proposer and a seconder, please. Do we have anyone to propose? Councillor Alex Wade, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Alex. Thank you very much. Okay. Excuse me? Oh, we need to vote on it, right? Can I have a show of hands? We could do hands now, thank you. That looks like a full house on that one, thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 13, we need to, are we?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Refill your glasses and take it.